What's on TV?
I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hey, this is Chris Gore. You're listening to Dr. Gonzo Radio. I'm Dr. Gonzo Piqua, something.com. I don't know. What am I supposed to say?
Yeah, we'll have Zach. I'll have Zach do the next bumper.
So, hey, Dr. Gonzo's here.
Put a dime in him, you gotta let the whole song play out.
He's like human jukebox.
Oh, he's a talker, ain't he?
He's an old fat grandpa man.
Our parents were the greatest generation. Our dads went overseas to fight a war. As soon as they came back, they grabbed our moms and hit the sack, and there they stayed from 1946 to 64, making babies.
Lots of babies.
The baby boomers.
76 million.
And we grew older, but we're not dead yet.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, this is the Gringo, a.k.a. Dr. Gonzo, Tim Worth, professional drummer, and I do film reviews now. The main reason, very quickly, I'm going to do a review of Frozen Empire by Ghostbusters. The reason I'm doing reviews as well as having a YouTube channel is just to have a voice out there for the baby boomers. I think it's important to be represented. We're older, but we're not dead yet. So I had a real great interview yesterday with Brett R. Smith, good friend of mine in Texas. And I'm going to tail end what we had to say about Ghostbusters as well after this video to make it like one big review. But I'm not complicated when it comes to reviews. I mean, you got brilliant guys out there. I don't want to seem like a shill for Film Threat, but I like their brand. And Alan Ning and Chris Gore, they really can tear apart a film in a great way to, look at it from an actual movie, Rex Reed back in my day type perspective. I am not that guy. I'm doing this because I want to give you a baby boomer's reaction to a film. That's the only reason. That sums it up. Frozen Empire, saw it a couple days ago. I live in Ohio. That's why I'm wearing this in here. Woke up to 28 degrees this morning. It's 1 week before Easter. I'm originally from Phoenix, and it's like a Frozen Empire out in Ohio, but it could be 70 degrees tomorrow. So let's get on with the review, shall we? I love the movie. I did. I didn't like it as good as Afterlife. I thought Afterlife, setting up the team, there was a lot more in it, a lot more intricate pieces that went together. I've watched some other reviews, and my purpose is not to make you want to go watch the movie or make you not want to go watch the movie, just to give you my opinion on the movie and compare it to the first Ghostbusters. And then you decide, man. I mean, money's tight these days. So I got the cast rolled up here, and it had a great cast. Carrie Coon and Paul Rudd were back now. They're more of a couple now. Dan Aykroyd got a lot of screen time, and he was in the cast. Bill Murray's kind of in and out, says a couple lines, does his thing, goes out. Annie Potts is in there. Loved Annie Potts in Designing Women and Pretty in Pink. Always had a thing for her back in the 80s, and she still is very pretty lady. And the one standout who I really liked was, let me get his name up, Logan Kim. He plays Podcast. Now, in preparing this review, and Brett and I will go into it as well. I like the Afterlife movie and this movie because it's like a mixture of Ghostbusters and Goonies through my eyes. Podcast, who's played by this young Logan Kim, he reminded me of Gadget in Goonies. So there's a lot of comparisons. A lot of people don't like that. They just want another old Ghostbusters movie. There's only one. I loved the first Ghostbusters. I like the second one. They don't have Rick Moranis. I think I'm pretty sure he's retired. But all in all, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is a good movie that you can take your kids to. And Brett and I are going to go into it a little bit later on in this review, the second part of this review, because there's things going around about Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace, who's a great musician. I'm going to include one of her videos in this too. She wrote a song called Haunted House that they did in the outro of the Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I did like the soundtrack from Afterlife. They had the clapping song in there. And so I thought the first soundtrack was better than this one. Is it Ghostbusters number one? No, it's something new. And I think I like this movie, and I want to keep this simple because it takes the older generation, which is what we saw, and a lot of friends my age, into the newer generation, younger generation, and they don't make it woke. I mean, there's a little bit, I'm not going to do any spoilers in this, but there's some hints at some adult stuff, but just like in the first one, you ever watch the first Ghostbusters movie and then watch it later on and go, oh, I get that now. Same stuff here. It's all pretty harmless. And the thing I really liked about it was just a good popcorn movie. It was a good get out of your head type of movie. The trailer can be a little deceiving because the stuff that they show is a very small part of the movie. I'll tell you that up front. But first act, second act, and third act, I liked was good. I thought they ended strongly with a good third act. The only objection I have to this was that they kind of, and there's reasons for this, and I don't want to spoil anything, but Phoebe, the science nerd, little tomboy girl, 15-year-old girl, kind of gets benched during this. And the thing I liked about Afterlife was her corny jokes to the scary monsters and all that kind of stuff. And I think they lost out with that because I think McKenna Grace is a really talented young actress. I think she represents Egon Spengler very well. All the cast plays its part, and you're going to have some Slimer in there, a lot of member berries. It's a great popcorn movie. There's no woke stuff in it that I noticed. And it's a great movie that you can take your family and even your grandkids to. There's some scary stuff in there, a little bit, but nothing too bad. And there is one like mid post-credit scene, so you don't have to stay to the very end. It was a great movie to go see because my kids gave me a Cinemark movie card, and I enjoyed it with some popcorn and my traditional cherry icy. And I would really suggest Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Make decisions for yourself, folks. You're going to have to sort through a lot of people are really split on this movie. And there's a lot of rumors about certain things that Brett and I will go into in just a second here on the movie. Make up your minds for yourself what movies you want to see. There's a lot of Brett does a quote from the guy who wrote Dilbert, and I forget the guy's name right now. But a lot of times, do you ever go to a movie and then you read a review or or you talk to your friends, and it's like, what movie did you see? It's almost like you saw two separate movies. If you like Ghostbusters, if you like the franchise, if you liked Afterlife, It's not as good as Afterlife, but it's a good follow-up movie. You know, it's a good movie just to get outside your head for a little bit. And now it's time for me and Brett R. Smith to take it home. Not Afterlife, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Right.
And there's some myths flying around, and this is not going to be spoilers. I'm going to do a review on it, but it pissed me off because I raised 2 daughters. Okay. And yeah, I'm old fat grandpa man, all that stuff. So I'm 67. So maybe I'm just old fashioned, but I read an article that said that Frozen Empire, that Phoebe was not gay enough. Spoiler alert, Phoebe is not gay in this. Now you could perhaps take this, have a takeaway with it. So without spoilers, Phoebe makes a friend. Okay. She's a science geek. She's feeling kind of outcast from the team. Like 15-year-olds feel isolated sometimes, especially science nerd type of things.
Sure.
And so Phoebe makes a friend and they get close. They're 2 girls. It's a girl kind of dressed as Madonna. So without going into spoilers, they have a friendship going on, and it has a twist to it. But that twist does not include hugging, kissing, and I'm not going to say other stuff. But, it's not gay. Oh, my gosh. And we were talking sometimes, and I love my YouTube channel, fellas. I don't do this for the money. I have a regular gig, and plus I have my music. And plus I have studio stuff. So I don't monetize. So I'm not in it for the money. So I don't have to sensationalize things, because if you go into this movie, Frozen Empire, that Phoebe is in some kind of homosexual relationship or whatever, well, all I can say is there's a reason the dad for Beetlejuice isn't going to be in the next movie.
Daylight come and we want to go. Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want to go. Me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day. Daylight come and we want to go.
The juice is loose.
So we can leave it at that.
Jeffrey
So,
Jones. Yeah.
yeah.
David Milch brought him back for the Deadwood movie, but he had quite a diminished role. The character of Merrick didn't have a whole lot of screen time in the movie. I still liked seeing him there, but I do find it unfortunate about Jeffrey's behavior, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And of course we forgive people like that and all that, but it seems like they want to train with DEI, back to DEI. They want to train people to see this, or to look into this, or, hey, you might be having these thoughts or feelings. Man, I raised 2 daughters, Brett.
Yeah.
At 15 years old, they didn't confide in dad. They didn't all the time confide in mom either.
Sure.
They had their friends. As we were talking, girls dance together. Mm-hmm. And can anybody reveal the secret of why they go to the bathroom at a drive-in together? I mean,
or at a show,
or at a show
at a
when
restaurant.
You're on a double date.
Yeah.
What do they talk about? That's what I want to know.
What are they doing in there when they
doing in there?
Powder their noses or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Of course, that probably had a different connotation in the 80s. Powder your nose.
Yeah, I know that one. But again, girls feel intimacy differently than guys do.
Yes.
You know, I can hug a guy. I can tell both Brett and Lisa that I love them because I love them as friends. You know,
Sure.
I'm comfortable with my heterosexuality. You know, and I can tell people I love them and mean that sincerely. But doesn't mean I'm going to go lip lock anybody. Please shoot me in the knee if I ever even try.
You know, there was the left kind of did the same thing with Captain America and Bucky, you know, with Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan. So, you know, there was this you know, kind of narrative that floated that they had some kind of extracurricular relationships outside of being friends, and they weren't gay enough. And you know, I mean, I always think it's like this stuff is meant to program people, both right and left. And, you know, they do give us these things oftentimes in movies where it's really overt, but at the same time, you almost become programmed to either see it or not see it. And it's like Scott Adams talks about, you know, people see two different movies from the standpoint of the reality that they perceive. And I just don't think that Ghostbusters would go there. I think that they're trying to sell nostalgia as hard as they can. And I also think that they don't want to upset the apple cart from the standpoint of pissing off the fans, because they've already been there with that Leslie Jones Ghostbusters, which has basically sort of been retconned.
Oh, that was awful.
Fortunately, it's been retconned. I'm typically not a fan of retconning anything, but you know, I never watched that because I couldn't even get past the trailers. It repulsed me. So I never watched the female Ghostbusters, but I did like Afterlife. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a little formulaic. You know, but this is
I like the crossover with kind of like Goonie type of thing.
Yeah.
Like you have the little Asian kid who was like Gadget in the Goonies.
Yeah.
He was podcast, you know,
right,
and all the kind of tip of the hats to that. And I thought that was a cool mix with the old guys. And I'll tell you what, Brett, in this movie, Dan Aykroyd gets a lot more screen time. And I had to Google it afterwards. He's into all this supernatural stuff.
Oh yeah,
when he's saying these lines, those are stuff that he really knows.
Oh yeah,
it's big up or scripted.
It goes. His family is deep into that kind of stuff, and that's kind of where he gets a lot of it. But I'm glad that Dan gets screen time. I love Dan Aykroyd, and I think he's really talented. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say is that Phoebe is kind of tomboyish in a lot of ways, and that's another thing that just doesn't seem to exist anymore is tomboys. You know, and if you are a tomboy, well, you know, maybe you need to transition or something. You know, and we don't have to get into that. But I do think that there's a world where you're free to be a tomboy if you're a girl, and you can be into, you know, stuff that guys are into. There's nothing wrong with that. Tomboys are cool. I was friends with a lot of tomboys growing up, so they can be great friends.
Oh yeah, and it's great to have fun together and stuff. Yeah. So I highly recommend Frozen Empire. Mm-hmm. It's good for us older ones that watch the original one. For the new generation, Paul Rudd, man, I wish I looked that good at that age.
It's amazing, dude.
He gets a lot of good screen time, and I would love to meet him sometime and said, "You did great on Frozen Empire and Afterlife. What the hell happened in Quantumania?" You know,
you know what? I give those guys a pass. You know, you really, and it's the same with Henry Cavill and a lot of these actors, you know, who are in, you know, what we kind of, you know, what we sort of judge to be not so great movies. Okay.
Right.
They you know, they show up on the set, they got to do the best they can given what they're given from the standpoint of the script. Plus they show up to these sets just full of green screen and people running around and in these, you know, these head to toe green screen suits. And that's got to be really hard to act within and try and conjure up some kind of performance when you're not dealing with anything real. So, but you know, it's amazing. I first saw Paul in Clueless in the theater back in the 90s. Right.
Oh, yeah,
and I, to me, I always thought he stole that movie. As funny as Alicia is and everyone else, Brittany Murphy's so great in that. To me, I sort of identified with Paul as the Gen Xer, the college guy, because that's sort of where I was at in life. And I just thought, who is this guy? I like him. There's something really, really likable about him, and obviously he just kind of eats up the screen. He's just one of those guys. So,
Yeah, that one of those guys that really have it. And anyway, folks, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen Afterlife, I would see that first.
Yeah.
The only critique, and I'll go more into it in my review, is I liked the soundtrack to the first one better than this soundtrack, but it wasn't bad. And actually, the young lady who plays Phoebe wrote a song for it.
You walk out the door, then you walk back in the second that it's cold outside, and you see I've got something to give, and I'd give it to you 100 times over till you screwed me over just like the last time, saying it was the last time. I paid the price, staying alone in my room after what happened in June, thinking I really loved you, and maybe I still do, but I think you're honestly something I needed to lose. No, it's not healthy, it doesn't help me, but I do it anyways. Looking at photos, reading the letters that you gave me, I could never throw them out, 'cause a ghost never leaves a haunted house. Never leaves a haunted house. I get reminiscent when somebody says your name. Almost glad I miss it, 'cause it's better than not feeling a single thing, even after all the white lies, empty goodbyes, all the tears and all the times you weren't there when I needed you to be, hoping you're right where you wanna be, even if it's not with me. No, it's not healthy, it doesn't help me, but I do it anyways. Looking at photos, reading the letters that you gave me, I could never throw them out, 'cause a ghost never leaves a haunted house. A ghost never leaves a haunted house. A ghost never leaves a haunted house. We will live and live, but we die now. The silence used to be so loud, so glad that I can hear my sound, 'cause a ghost never leaves a haunted house. I think we're on our final scene, keep us good in all our memories, so I don't have to throw them out. A ghost never leaves a haunted house.
Which is quite good. I didn't even know she was a musician. So
that's cool.
Go see Frozen Empire. It's a great popcorn movie. I smiled and laughed so hard, Brett, my face hurt afterwards. I mean, it's mostly just grinning. Those, you got those fanberries and people. Some of the YouTubers out there complain about movies having fanberries in it, but that makes me feel good. Hey, Bustin' makes me feel good.
Right. That stuff, that's part of what the movie is selling, is nostalgia. So, and
Yeah.
you know, and they're going for boomers, they're going for Gen Xers, they're going for millennials. These are people who have discretionary income, they have families that they can bring. So you're trying to take a franchise and make it multi-generational. So I don't fault them for doing any of that, because largely the impetus behind even bringing these franchises back is not only were they successful and fun back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, but they can be fun again because you're basically playing to the same crowd, only they have kids, and hopefully there's, you know, the studios see longevity in that they can continue on. So plus, you know, we got to give credit where credit's due. Ghostbusters did not go in and kill off all of the main characters to then be left with these new characters. You know, they've integrated them. And I think that had Star Wars done that, not killed off all the main characters and integrated them with the new characters, I think it probably would have stood a better chance of being a better franchise.
Superhero landing. Ever had your ass kicked by a 12-year-old nerd with an inhaler? Supper time, Spanky.
Nope.
What the hell are you two doing? It's called rocking out. You wouldn't understand, Dad. You're not with it. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.